right, we are going to work with the updating tools found in Chapter 6, and I'm just going to run through a lot of these, giving you some additional examples that are similar to the ones in Chapter 6. And we'll talk a little bit about transaction history, but what I'm going to start out with is I have a basic create table statement already put in here, so you don't have to watch me type it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new table named Best Customer that's going to have the customer number, the customer name, the balance, the credit limit, the postal code, and the rep num. So it's very similar to our existing customer table from the TAL database, but we're going to pull out data from that table in a minute and populate our best customer with our customers with the highest credit limit. So let me go ahead and run that. And we have our table created. If I come over to connections, I can refresh my table list and I'll see best customer there. It's empty. It doesn't have any data right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do an insert statement. Normally we would insert values. We'd have an insert clause and then a values clause. But what we're going to do this time is we're going to insert into this database and we're going to select the data we want to insert from our customer table. And so we're going to do it like this. We're going to insert into best customer. And instead of doing our values, we're going to select our fields, customer name, balance, credit limit, postal code, and rep num. So we're going to select those fields from the customer table. And we're going to say we want our best customers with the highest credit limit. So we're going to say we want to only select customers that have a credit limit, that is greater than or equal to 7,500. And so what that's going to do is it's going to select our data first that meets this criteria, and then it's going to insert it into our table best customer that we created right here. So let's go ahead and run that. We have 10 rows inserted into our table, so we can select all from best customer just to see what came out of that. So we can run that, and then we will see our tables with credit limits that are 7,500 or above. So that's the insert statement using a select statement to populate from another table. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to look up updating something in our table. And since I have this table set up, I'm going to go ahead and just use it for the rest of the examples. That way I won't mess with my original tables that we have for the database. All right, so let's say that we have the Everything Shop, and let's say they changed their name to the Almost Everything Shop. What I can do is I can use the update statement, and I'm going to tell it what table I'm going to update. So we're going to update best customer, and we're going to use the set command. Update comes with the set command, and we're going to set customer name equal to the Almost Everything Shop. I'm just going to go ahead and do it all in capital letters, and we'll say where customer num is equal to 334. So we don't want to set customer name to Almost Everything Shop without a where statement. If we did that, that would actually update the customer name for all of our customers to that. So we definitely want to be very specific when we're using our update clauses to only affect the records that we want. So I'm going to highlight that, run that. I'm going to look at my table results again, and now we notice where we had the Everything Shop, we had a successful update with the Almost Everything Shop. And you can do an update with multiple criteria. So let's go ahead and update our best customer. We're going to get a little fancier here. We're going to set the credit limit equal to, what we're going to do is we're going to give everybody a 50% increase in their credit in a certain zip code. Let's say there was some sort of an incident there that we need to update. We need to give them a little bit more credit. So we're going to set their credit limit equal to what their existing credit limit is, and we're just going to multiply that by 1.5. So don't forget, you can do things like that, which would increase their credit limit 50%. and we're just going to say where their postal code is equal to 90085, which is one of the zip codes in our database. And then also let's just make sure that we're not getting people into financial trouble. So let's make sure that we're only doing that for people who have a balance of less than 3,000. So what we have is a couple of things just to remind you that you can do mathematics within or with a field value. And then we have just a compound aware statement here where both of these have to be met. They have to be in 90085 and they have to have a balance of less than 300. So let's go ahead and run that. Let's look at our data again, and let's look at, so this person and this person looks like they got a credit increase. The rest of them stayed the same because they didn't meet the zip code requirement or the balance requirement. All right. So I'm going to pause here and I'm going to talk to you about auto commit, which is the default, and then the commit and rollback options that you can use in most database servers. And so what this has to do with is if a transaction goes through, when auto commit is turned on, it means that when you run the changes that your SQL statement executes, it means that it becomes a permanent change to the database. But sometimes you don't want that to happen. A lot of times in sales transactions, you want the sales to be finalized. They can't be canceled and things like that. And so even in some systems, you'll run transactions in batch at the end of the day. So when you have auto commit set, which is the default in Oracle, when you run something, it's going to put the change in place. But if you take auto commit off, you have the option to commit after your SQL runs properly. You check to make sure that it changed the fields that you expected it to, that it didn't do something crazy. Then you can issue the commit command. But if something went wrong, you actually have the kind of the edit undo option of a rollback command. And so you can actually just type these in here. Oracle also has the rollback and the commit buttons right here. But again, I'm not going to do it, but you would just type the rollback command and then run it, and it would roll back all the work that you had done since your last commit. And that's why I don't want to do it, is because it would undo everything we've done so far. But that has to do with transactions, and there's a pretty good description of it in your textbook on page 173, it looks like, 174. And so I highly recommend that you go through that and understand those concepts, because there will be something on the test for that. All right, so moving on, we're going to look at changing and deleting rows. I'm going to delete a customer from our database. So we're going to delete that almost everything shop. And so you're going to delete is the keyword from the table that you want to delete from. And then you just give a where command. So where customer num equals 334. Now when you're deleting things and changing things in the database, that's why these commits and rollbacks are there, because deleting tables accidentally can be catastrophic. Even deleting records of customers and things like that can be catastrophic. And so you do want to make sure that you know what you're doing in some of these cases and kind of build in a safety net for yourself. But I'm going to go ahead and run that. It tells me that one row was deleted. And so when I run my select statement again, we see that our almost everything store is gone. So that's how we get rid of a record in our database. So, all right, let's move on to updates with nulls. So let's say in our customer database here, for some reason, one of our representatives went away, and so we don't really know who's going to replace them yet. And so we're going to replace their current rep number with a null value, and then later on we can come in and find those null values and replace them as needed. So again, it's just an update statement. We're going to update this table. We are going to use the set statement still. And this time we're going to set rep num equal to null. Now I want to make sure you understand there are no quotes around null. In this case, this is actually a value. It's not the word null. If you were to put quotes around the word null, it would literally put a letter N, a letter U, a letter L, and a letter L. And that's not what you're after. You're wanting to set this to a field that has no value to it. So you set it to null without quotes. And let's just say where their current rep number is going to be equal to 45. And so we have, I think we have somebody here. So this person right here has a rep of 45, but when we run this, it updated 2 rows, and we can see that statement again, and you'll see the null value filled in where 45 previously was. All right, so that's updating with a null. Let's go ahead and talk now about actually altering the table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a field to our table. For some reason, I'm going to give them a rating of satisfactory or good or poor or something like that. So I'm going to use the alter command, and we're going to alter a table. So you do have to have the word table, just like when you have your create statement, you have create table. When we drop a table in a minute, it's going to be drop table. So we're going to alter our table, and we tell it which one we're going to alter. And then you just tell it which field you want to add. So in this case, I'm going to add customer rating, and I'm going to make it car 2 for some reason. I'm not sure why. Okay, so when I do that, I have table best customer was altered. And if I want to look at that table, I can use describe best customer. And when we do that, we should see that there is a customer rating of car 2 now. We could also go over here in our connections and look at it and see it there. Okay, so customer rating car 2. All right, and so if we want to add something, so let's say that when we put this, we're going to go ahead and by default give everybody a customer rating of G. If we had 4,000 customers in here, we don't want to go in and update each individual row by G. So what I could do is I could go in and automatically assign G to everybody and then go in and change the 3 or 4 maybe that are not G. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to update our best customer table still. We're going to set the customer rating equal to G, and we are not going to have a where statement. And so this is where it's going to go in and update this. So when you're writing something like this without a where statement, double, triple check and make sure that that's really what you want to happen. Because if there is data in all of this and you're not selecting the few fields that you want to make an update, it's going to actually change every row in your table. So we highlight this, we run it. It tells us that 9 rows were updated. And so if we go and look at our table again, we can come over here and see that everybody has a G rating now. And again, if we wanted to come back in and make changes to that, we could just update our best customer, set customer rating equal to, I guess, U for unsatisfactory. I'm just making this up as I go, where balance is greater than 5,000. Let's say they have a high balance, so they get a U. And so we do this. We run that. 0 rows updated. I don't think I have anybody who has a balance of over 5,000. Let's see if they 2,000. Run that. So 3 rows were updated. So if we go look at our table, we should have some people with G's and some people with U's now. So there's a U with the null value, U, and a U. Okay, with null values for a rep number. It's not for their balance. All right, and that's pretty much the commands that are going to be introduced here, and one that you've probably already used, but I'm not sure it has been officially introduced, is the drop table command. And so now that we're done with best customer, I'm going to go ahead and drop that table and refresh, and now it's gone. So that's pretty much all you need to know for chapter 6. I highly recommend, like I said, going back and reading about transactions, rollbacks, and commits. Understand what real life situations those would work in, and then just practice these commands.